Hello! I've come up with a slightly outrageous idea, but I feel like it's going to be a bit of fun. I'm going to be creating the best combined 11 for every single World Cup group, but it might not be the absolute best it can be, because I'm going to add a few rules to it. I got to make it so that every single squad is diverse. It would obviously be a bit easy if we were in Group D, for example, with a side like France against all those other teams. You'd probably put mostly French players in that combined 11. But no, I'm going to make it so that each country has to have 3 players representing each one. Obviously, there's 11 total. So in each group, there will be one country that will be missing a set of 3 players. They'll have 2 instead. I know some people will be skipping the rules of this intro and then just go on to comment that my combined 11s for each of these groups is absolutely terrible. These rules definitely make it a bit more of a challenge, but also interesting to combine every single country into the equation. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with Group A. Gone for a 5 in the back formation for this group because I feel like there's a lot of defenders we can utilize here. Starting off in the goalkeeper position, I'm gonna have to take Mendy. Senegal are obviously one of the best African teams on paper, and there's obviously certain positions which are more of talking points than others. Although Mendy has been caught slipping a few times recently, he's still a phenomenal keeper. He won the Goalkeeper of the Year award last year. If he's in form by the time the World Cup rolls around, I think the other teams are in trouble. They can definitely rely on him to come in clutch in between the sticks. Now for the defenders, there's so many to mention here. Let's start off early by giving Ecuador some praise. 2 players that can definitely come up big, and I've mentioned them a decent amount in the past, Estupiñán and Hincapié. Hincapié, one of Ecuador's best players. Estupiñán transferring to Brighton. I mean, no surprises there. This club has already got a hold of a decent amount of Ecuadorians. He had some immense moments for Villarreal, though I think it's a very solid transfer for the Premier League club. And for me, these might be the 2 biggest stick-out players for Ecuador at the moment. Alright, so far we have 2 Ecuadorians in this squad, which means I only can add 1 more. Let's move on to the other center backs before we potentially get into that last Ecuadorian player. We've got Virgil van Dijk and Koulibaly. 2 of the better-known center backs in the Premier League. It would be criminal to not include them. And to finish off that back line with the right wing back, I have gone for Dumfries. I think if this side were to rock this formation, Dumfries could definitely excel, as he can definitely contribute to the attack as well, pushing up beautifully. This might be, on paper, one of the best back lines we are going to be seeing in this video. I mean, look at that, and it's so diverse already. 2 players from 3 different countries. The only country we're missing so far is Qatar. Now moving on to that first midfielder, I have gone for Frenkie de Jong. Very much a player that can dictate the tempo for the Netherlands. Has to be one of the better options out there, and we got to utilize a player like him in the midfield. So by the way, just to repeat the rules in case you skipped the intro, this means we cannot add any more Netherlands players. I have 3 at the moment. The only country I still haven't added is Qatar, so I'm going to go into those 2 players right now. The other midfielder position, I have their captain, Al Haidos. He's not a player on Ultimate Team though, so hopefully this editing job doesn't look terrible. He can play as an attacker, but for the national team recently, he has been utilized in that midfield role, and he's a proper leader. So if we're going to include someone from Qatar, other than their interesting attack, we got to put him. So for that attacking player, it's obviously between either Al-Moazali or AAvfx. Both will have an interesting partnership at this World Cup. It's a debate to choose which one's better, but for me, I'm going to go for Al-Moazali. In less appearances than AAvfx, he remains the top goal scorer of the national team. Very interested to see what he's capable of against all these strong teams in their group. Now for the final Senegal player we're going to be adding, it's Sadio Mane. There's no surprises there, obviously. Senegal's best attacker at the moment. And for the right wing position, I have gone for Gonzalo Plata, one of Ecuador's most electric attackers at the moment. Sure, there's some other underrated gems on this national team, but this one, to me, sticks out the most. In the World Cup qualifiers, he had 6 direct goal contributions in 16 matches in those difficult South America qualifiers as well. Yeah, obviously, you can make arguments to change certain things here or there, but I'm actually pretty happy with this starting 11, considering the limits we have. 3 players from Ecuador, 3 players from Senegal, 3 players from Netherlands, and 2 from Qatar. That's the rules we're going to keep going with for the rest of the video. Group A was relatively easy with that challenge, but Group B, it's going to be tough. With England, Iran, USA, and Wales. Now I'll be upfront with you guys off the bat. This is probably my least favorite combined 11 I've created in this video. On the surface, it's not going to look great, but keep in mind the rules that I have implemented. In order to properly include each nation, I feel like I had to make some sacrifices. I'll start off by saying I have no attackers from the England national team, which is a huge shocker to leave out the likes of Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, who was incredible at the last Euros. But if I want to take advantage of fitting in some of the best players from the other countries, I got to sacrifice that brilliant attack from England and use their very solid depth in their other positions, if that makes sense. Regardless, I know I'm still going to get some hate on this for my selections, but whatever. So yeah, those two strikers I went for are the partnership on the Iranian national team, Taremi and Azmoun. We got to utilize them for this combined 11 because I think it's one of Iran's biggest, strongest points. Azmoun is currently injured, but he is expected to return before the World Cup if everything goes to plan. And Taremi has had phenomenal contributions for his club, FC Porto, last season and this season. This season so far, he's already off to a great start with 9 direct goal contributions in 9 matches in the Portuguese league. So let's go on to add some more diversity to this team. At the right wing position, I've gone for Gareth Bale. Since joining the MLS, he has obviously been quiet, hasn't even been playing in majority of the matches. So he is getting criticized a tad bit, but for the national team he always turns up and still remains as that hero figure for the Welsh national team. We saw it this year against Austria in the World Cup qualifier playoffs. His motivation will be there. This is his first and last World Cup. So you already know it's about to go down with Gareth Bale, and I am expecting him to at least have some decent performances in this group stage. And at the left wing position, I know I'm going to get some criticism for this, but I have gone for Christian Pulisic. Now, I know he hasn't been as electric as he was during the lockdown phase, but he is still one of the best USMNT players, and we got to take advantage of those US slots. Christian Pulisic definitely needs to be in the equation for the starting 11. While on topic with the US national team, let's add their other player for the starting 11. I have gone for Weston McKennie. Usually when he is not on the pitch, the US look a bit less organized. I feel like he's very crucial for the national team. Even when Juventus look like a mess, he still pulls his weight as well. Can't deny this guy's brilliance. I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. And as well as this other center mid that I'm about to mention, Jude Bellingham. Yes, he might lack some experience at the moment. He's still very, very young, but he has an absolute bright future ahead of him, and I definitely see him improving his game as these years goes on. And at this current moment of time, I still feel like he is England's most gifted midfielder. Other good midfielders for England that are worth mentioning are Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. However, they both play a more defensive role, and Calvin Phillips is going to be missing the World Cup, unfortunately. He was phenomenal at the Euros, so that's a huge loss for the England national team. Now at the right back position, every bit of me wants to put in Reece James there, but he will also be missing the World Cup. It's such a shame. There are obviously so many arguments on who would be the best fullback for the England national team, as they had so many options. Kyle Walker, Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier, but now Reece James and Kyle Walker are both injured. Trent is at the moment as well, but he is looking to return before the World Cup. Obviously, it depends if Southgate's going to still select him or not, as he hasn't been having the most brilliant season. It's a tough one, but despite his bad performances recently, I'm still going to go for Trent. I feel like he hasn't had enough exposure for the England national team, and this could age terribly if he doesn't perform well, but he still has a lot of other redeeming qualities. We can't forget about how great of a come-up this lad has had. I'm going to select him over Trippier. But it's a really tough call. Now for my first center back selected, Southgate would choose Maguire without a doubt, but I'm going to go with someone he's not given enough chances for the national team, Tomori. This lad has already won full respect at Milan, where he won the Scudetto with this club. Yet Southgate still relies on Maguire to be the star man at the back. Definitely disagree with that. I know most English fans do as well. But who do you think should be replacing him? I personally think Tomori. But let me know your thoughts. And I'm going to put him at the starting 11, although he's not guaranteed for England. That's my pick because we already filled up the attack with all of those other players, and we got to take advantage of England's insane depth in the other positions. So as you can see, that's 3 Englishmen on this squad, which means I cannot select anymore. Another defender I will add to this team is Ben Davies, and although he has a center back card on FIFA, he is familiar at that left back role, so I'm going to stick him there. Now, I know I'm going out of order here, but for that goalkeeper position, I think it's between these two players, Wayne Hennessy or Matt Turner. Both are backups for their clubs in the Premier League. We could have even selected out of Nottingham Forest or Arsenal's first-string goalkeeper, Ramsdale or Henderson. But like I said, we already filled up all the English roles. We have to select someone from either USA, Wales, or Iran. And I think it's got to be between one of those two. They both have great performances for the national team despite being backups for their clubs. We saw Hennessy coming in absolutely clutch in that last World Cup qualifier playoff match against Ukraine, and although in the last international break we saw so many negatives for the US national team, Matt Turner was the one exception of giving US fans belief that there is a solid goalkeeper in between the sticks. It's a tough one, and this decision also factors who we'd put in that center back role, because if we select Matt Turner, then we can't select any more US players, and if we select Hennessy, we can't select any more Welsh players. With that being on the line, I'll probably prefer having a US center back in there, not one of the ones Greg Berhalter's been playing lately, one that has been injured but recently moved to Crystal Palace and can definitely show his form and hopefully start at the World Cup. I'm not sure if he'll recover by then, but I'm going to put in Chris Richards at center back for the US, which means we got to go for Hennessy in goal since we have no more room for Matt Turner, since that's 3 US players. So there you go. This is probably my least favorite combined 11 that I've put together, so please don't click off this video. Now taking a look at Group C with Argentina, Poland, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. This lineup I have gone for a 4-3-3 formation with the variation of having a center attacking mid in there, mostly to fit in the best players I possibly could. So let's start off with that striker role, which this should not be a surprise whatsoever for any of you. Yes, he had an open miss the other day in El Clasico, but you cannot deny this man's brilliance. We've gone for one of the best strikers in the world, Robert Lewandowski. Although the likes of Argentina also have a solid center forward role, like Lautaro Martinez, there is no way you can't take Robert Lewandowski for this combined 11. If we're going to have to put in some Polish players in there, he is the #1 choice, easiest one out of the bunch. Now for that right wing role, the obvious choice is Messi. But there are some other players that I want to implement in this attack, and we have seen Messi play some other roles in the past, but I'm going to put him in the center attacking mid role to make way for some other wingers. It would be criminal not to include this guy as well in this squad. I mean, I don't have to explain much more about him. Instead, for that right wing role, I'm going to take advantage of selecting a Mexican here. I have gone for Lozano. He obviously brings in that electric pace. I wouldn't say it's an easy choice, but in order to fulfill those Mexico requirements, he's a good shout. Now for the left wing, this would be a good opportunity to select Saudi Arabia's best player, Al Dawsari. But something you got to give respect for to the Saudi team is when they pull their strings together, they can keep matches low scoring. So I would rather have those defensive slots filled in for the Saudi team, even though they might not be better than other options on paper compared to these other national teams. I'm not going to put Al Dawsari because there are so many phenomenal attackers in this group. And I'm going to select an Argentinian here. He is injured at the moment, but hopefully he will come back before the World Cup. It's not fully confirmed yet. He should still be in the squad, though. I have gone for Angel Di Maria. Such a baller. Obviously, everybody recognizes his class, but I still feel like overall his career is pretty underrated. The past 2 World Cups, he has scored absolute bangers. I'm expecting him to do another if he's fully fit for this tournament. Hopefully in the knockouts once again. We shall see. Now for our next Mexico player, this guy plays at the CDM role. We gotta fit him in this team somehow. He might not be at his prime in this position, a normal center mid, but he is next level. At the moment, I think he is Mexico's best player. We've gone for Edson Alvarez. If anyone's gonna save the Mexico national team from a Tata Martino disaster class, it should be this guy. And for the other center mid role, I have gone for Zielinski. Very creative midfielder, and we could see an interesting click between him and Lewandowski at this World Cup. So far in the Champions League, in 4 appearances, he has 3 goals and 2 assists. At left back, I'm going for Al Shahrani, the player with the most experience in the back line for this national team. So we got to select him. And the other player I'm going to be selecting is Al Amri. Like I said, so many people are underestimating Saudi Arabia at this World Cup, but if any part of their squad's going to pull through, it will probably be their back line. Take a look at their recent friendlies. They have managed to keep some matches low scoring, but they really struggle to find some clinical attackers. The other center back role has to be Christian Romero from Argentina. Had a phenomenal season for Tottenham last year. He has definitely proven his class, and in that center back role, I think he is the man to rely on. That's all the Argentina players selected now. We have room for 1 more in every single nation. Now this is actually tough because it's either a combination of Ochoa and Matty Cash or Szczesny and Jorge Sanchez. I feel like both can work here. Ochoa is getting old, but it's just so hard to neglect him with this World Cup coming up. He always has a great display for Mexico in these big tournaments. 2014, best example. Szczesny looking better on paper throughout these recent years, but I do feel like he makes some clumsy mistakes from time to time. Due to their recent performances in Legacy, I'm going to go for that combination of Ochoa and Matty Cash. And there you go, that is my combined 11 for Group C. It's still not my favorite one that I've created, but I feel more confident about it than what I selected for Group B. Moving on to Group D now, this one will be very tricky. Obviously, if these rules weren't implemented, France would easily dominate the starting 11. But gotta make this more interesting, that wouldn't be fun. So we gotta be selective of which dominant France players we want to select. I'm gonna take advantage of their brilliant attack force. I'm going to go with that partnership of Mbappe and Benzema. The expectations will be very high for both of these players. Both were probably the best attackers last season, though, grabbing incredible numbers. And yeah, Benzema just won the Ballon d'Or. Shoot, I forgot to change the formation. I'm going to be using a 3 in the back with 2 center defensive mids. Let's go over those guys first. Starting off with Tunisia, this guy is probably one of their best players on the national team. Plays in the Bundesliga for Köln. We've got Skihiri. And for the other option, I wanted to take Eriksen, but with the CDM variation of this formation, we got to take the CDM of the Danish national team. I have gone for Højbjerg. Now for the center attacking mid role, I know this guy doesn't have the best relationship with the Tunisian national team at the moment, but he still, to me, on paper, is one of those better options. In the attack, we have gone for Kazri. I don't think Tunisia should necessarily give up on him yet, though, although I know they're experimenting other options up top. I'm selecting him for this 11, although I know some people might disagree. Now, for those left and right mid roles, I have gone for 2 Aussies. On the left, I've gone for Mobile, who, from my knowledge, is one of their quickest players. And on the right, this guy normally plays in the center, but he can shift to the right as well if needed. I have gone for Hrustic. He has been massive in the recent Australia matches, qualifying them for the World Cup, being the difference against the UAE. Yeah, I gotta choose Australia for the wide roles. Now for the lad in between the sticks, I have gone for Kasper Schmeichel. Recently moved to Nice, and although France have a lot of depth in their goalkeeper position, we can't ignore how much of a warrior this guy is for club and country. Now for those center back roles, the first one I'm going to take is Christensen. Could have taken Care as well. We got to include one Danish guy at least, but there you go. That's all of our Denmark slots for this 11. The next one I'm going to take, although there might be some disagreements here, it's Saliba for France. Although his FIFA ranking doesn't justify that he's the best option, there's also Koundé and Varane. I think at the moment he is their most informed center back, so I'm going to have to select him. And that last position, he's not in the game, but I've selected Sainsbury from Australia. Although he doesn't always start for the national team from my knowledge, he does play in Qatar. He will have the experience on that home soil. So I believe for that final position, he could be that center defender that can come in clutch. Who knows? Again, an iffy one on the surface, but when you integrate these rules, I think this is not a bad team. Maybe we could have gone for a different formation and included fullbacks in there and taken the likes of Hernandez from AC Milan, but I'll accept this. Now for Group E, this one might have a few twists here as well. I've gone for a false 9 formation. In this group, we have Spain, Germany, Costa Rica, and Japan. Now there are so many great goalkeepers in this group, but if we're going to implement some Costa Rican players, you already know who we're going to put in goal. Keylor Navas. This is the player that gives me a lot of hope for Costa Rica because he's phenomenal. And he really could impose a challenge to those giants, Spain and Germany, as they don't always look to be the most potent in terms of finishing. I'll throw in the other player for you guys though. Our first player in the back line, it's going to be Oscar Duarte. I feel like this is a debatable pick because there are some other center backs that have risen to the occasion for Costa Rica. I'm going to stick to Duarte for now, but Costa Rica fans, let me know if I should have taken Francisco Calvo instead or anyone else you have in mind. Now for the other center back, we got to choose this guy who is just such a warrior. I mean, we saw it in Real Madrid's last Champions League fixture against Shakhtar. Rudiger will put everything on the line. He was one of the most aggressive center backs in this era. He could have had a lot of other options here. I've also praised Laporte in the past, but I'm going to give it to Rudiger in this video. Now for that right back role, I'm going to go for Tomiyasu. He's really had some brilliant moments for Arsenal, and he is a defender Japan can rely on at this World Cup. I know Japan aren't favorites in this group, but watch out for him. Now left back, I know this guy's getting criticized lately, but he is one of the players who has the most experience on the Spain national team. I'm going to select Jordi Alba. Yes, he's not his prime anymore, but we've seen in recent tournaments he still is very much able to contribute for Spain. Now moving on to our first midfielder, I have gone for Pedri. This is the player most people are expecting to win that Young Player of the Tournament award. Very skillful. Some people arguing him to be Spain's best player at the moment. So I will definitely put him in this starting 11. And without a doubt, when you think of amazing midfield throughout the world, Spain is absolutely up there. So without a question, we got to throw in some Spanish players in the midfield. Pedri, I think, is the best choice so far. Let's move on to the center defensive mid role. I will not be taking a Spanish player here. I'm going to go for Germany. We have Joshua Kimmich. Could have taken Busquets, sure. But Kimmich, I think, is one of Germany's best players right now. Very versatile. He's not identical to Lam, obviously, but he really much seems like a regen of this player. Now, for that other center mid spot, I could take Goretzka here, but I'm going to go for another Spanish player. I've gone for Thiago. Although Germany's midfield is fantastic as well, something about Spain's is just magical. So we got to highlight the actual center mid roles with the Spanish. All right, so we cannot take any more Spain players because that's 3, but there's still room for every other country. Let's finish up Germany. I have gone for Leroy Sané at the left wing position. Could be debatable here. You could take Gnabry instead on the right, or even utilize that center forward role with the likes of Müller. Might have some surprising picks here. I can't take any more Germany or Spain players since we both maxed them out at 3. I'm going to go for Japan for the rest of the video here. At center forward, I've got Daichi Kamada, and at right wing, I've gone for Ito. Ito was one of the most electric players in the Belgian league last season, grabbed loads of assists, which earned him a transfer to Ligue 1. Daichi Kamada proves his brilliance for club and country. He was a key contributor to Frankfurt's Europa League success. And I've gone for this false 9 and stuck him there because it's hard to really waste a spot on either Spain or Germany at the moment, with both of them not really having that reliable center forward, which I mentioned a lot of times in the past. It's a bit odd, but we gotta take advantage of the midfield, like I said, for Spain, and Japan's attack could very much be surprising at this World Cup. Can't wait to see what they're made of. We'll see if they can upset any of these giants. Now for Group F with Belgium, Croatia, Canada, and Morocco. I am happy to say that even with these rules implemented, this might be the most straightforward group we are going to be looking at in this video. Actually, there might be a few debatable ones, but you know what? Let's start off with the ones that you can't argue about whatsoever. Our first midfielder is gotta be Luka Modric, come on. And another non-negotiable midfielder has gotta be the main man from Belgium, Kevin De Bruyne. Debatably the 2 best midfielders in this tournament in the same group. I'm happy to say that there are some more non-negotiable picks for the other countries as well that are considered underdogs in this group. Morocco and Canada, both at the fullback positions. It's obviously going to be Hakimi and Alphonso Davies. Now I know Alphonso Davies is very versatile and many times doesn't play this position for the national team, but in order to get the best out of every position, I'm obviously going to put him there, and he's a fantastic fullback. Look at that. This team's already looking so strong. Let's keep it going with some more maybe debatable picks, but I think are also pretty set in stone. At the center defensive mid position, I'm taking Marcelo Brozovic. Probably one of the best defensive mids. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves. In the Serie A last season, without a doubt, he was so crucial. He is suffering injury at the moment, expected to return before the World Cup. Hopefully everything goes to plan, because if not, he will be missed for the national team. He just sets every midfield in stone to help his team properly be organized. Now for the goalkeeper, I could have debatably taken Bono from Morocco, but I think Courtois is the better pick here. He's still one of those examples from the Belgium golden generation that is still very much pulling his weight and can save this national team from potential disasters. Obviously, there's some talking points about the golden generation disintegrating, particularly in the defense. It's not looking as promising for Belgium. So if Courtois is up to the task, he still can very much keep his national team in the race to compete in this tournament, and that's why I'm putting Courtois in this combined 11. Now for that right wing position, he's back for the Morocco national team. Now that Halil Hodzic is gone, I'm putting in Ziyech. He's definitely going to have a lot more freedom to do his thing on the pitch for the Morocco national team, and I'm nervous to see what he's about, especially the fact that Croatia's playing Morocco first. Exceptional attacker. I think he definitely deserves to be in the starting 11. Okay, now for the rest, you can make some arguments about how it's faulty here and there, but here's what I went with. At striker, I think Lukaku would have been a fantastic choice, although he hasn't been as electric as before and he's been undergoing injuries. He still is very lethal for the Belgium national team always. However, I've chosen Jonathan David because he has still been fantastic in Ligue 1, grabbing 9 goals and 2 assists in 11 appearances so far, and for the national team, contributing to Canada's success last year to be the top goal-scoring country in 2021. Now, at the left wing position, this is where it gets debatable. In the past, it wouldn't have been whatsoever, but now he has not been the same player. Everybody knows that. But I'm going to put him in this team regardless. Eden Hazard, who we still should not give up on 100% yet. I mean, he has had some hopeful moments throughout the season, like that match against Celtic, and can serve as a leading figure for the Belgian national team. I can't ignore what Hazard has done in history, and I'm going to be putting him in the starting 11. Well, that completes Belgium. So we have 2 center back roles left. I'm going to start with the Croatia pick and put in Gvardiol. Him and a few others give me so much hope for the Croatian defense at this World Cup. Really seems like we're strengthening in this regard in terms of the youngsters coming in. Gvardiol is probably the biggest and best example of this. And then that final pick, we can't take any more Belgian players, but still their defense is not looking too sharp. I'm gonna go for a player that many Moroccans should be hopeful for at this World Cup, despite him not really getting to show what he's worth at West Ham so far. I have gone for Aguerd. There are some underrated gems in the center back role for Canada as well, but I definitely believe this is the best combined 11 for Group F, and probably the group I'm most confident in displaying. Maybe just Eden Hazard I am like not 100% convinced on, but other than that, I think this group is set. Now taking a look at Group G, gone for the 3-4-2-1 formation, which might not be too ideal, but I'm trying to put in the best possible players here. You might see what I mean once you see the lineup. Got to start off by saying every single national team here has a great goalkeeper. Obviously on paper, Ederson, Alisson are going to be the best options. But you can't ignore what Sommer has done for Switzerland recently. And I'm going to be putting him in the starting 11 in order to make more space for other Brazil slots in this 11. Now it's the time to throw in a Brazil player. I'm going to go for Marquinhos. Although slipping last year to Real Madrid, being a huge factor of why PSG failed to make it to the quarterfinals. Definitely a defender Brazil should be able to rely on at the World Cup. Could put in Thiago Silva there, as he definitely has more experience and wisdom. I'm going to go for Marquinhos here. Now for the right center back role, I've stuck in another Swiss player who's been clutch for his club as well, Borussia Mönchengladbach. I've gone for Elvedi. Pretty versatile in the back line, can play center back, right back, or left back. Very adaptable, and on his day, he's a boss. And for that other center back role, I'm also going to be choosing another Swiss player. Recently signing from Manchester City, I have chosen Akanji. That's all our Swiss picks gone already, but I think it's wise to use them in the defensive department and goalkeeper position. Now for those center mid picks, I'm going to take Zambo Anguissa as our first player from Cameroon. Some people think he could be better for the national team, but there's no denying how skillful and potentially creative he is. He's been a big part to Napoli's success recently as well. Definitely one of Cameroon's best players, and another phenomenal player in the Serie A. I got to take Milenkovic-Savic here. He was one of the main reasons why Serbia had a falling out with their manager right before the last World Cup. Now with Pixie in charge, he makes that midfield so much more powerful than it already is. We got to put him in. Now for the left and right mid, my first pick will be Dusan Tadic, and since he is versatile and there's another player I have in mind for the left mid position, I will put him at the right, either breaking or nearly breaking Messi's record that calendar year. The captain definitely deserves a spot here. Now for that left mid role, I am going to go for Karl Toko Ekambi from Cameroon, the man to clutch Cameroon's spot for the World Cup with that very last minute goal against Algeria. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't be seeing this side in this group. And we saw how clutch and incredible he was at the Africa Cup of Nations as well. If Cameroon have any glimpse of hope, they're going to have to rely on this man to produce some results here. Now for that front three. This is a bit tricky. You can vary this however you want, because I always go on about Serbia's incredible attack, like Dusan Vlahovic or Mitrovic, so you could choose either of them. And then also Brazil just have so much attacking depth, so much to choose from, all up to preference, all up on how you want to arrange it. But here's what I've gone. You know what? Mito's just been on absolute fire. It's so hard to ignore his performances right now. Not as high rating in FIFA, but he could be very clutch like he has been at the World Cup qualifiers against Portugal on the final match day. In this recent Nations League break, he was absolutely destructive against the Scandinavian countries. Yeah, sorry Vlahovic, but right now it's going to be Mitrovic. Now for the left and right center forwards, obviously it's going to be Brazil. We only have one Brazilian in there so far, and yeah, they're the best team on paper in this group. I'm going to go for the more obvious choice first here, Neymar. I think that's a no-brainer. But for that other one, you could take Rafinha, Jesus, Anthony. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm going to take Gabriel Jesus, though, because he's just been fantastic for Arsenal. What a signing. One of the best signings in the Premier League. Absolutely phenomenal start. And yeah, that's going to be my combined 11 for Group G. Now, finally, the last group we're looking at, Group H, with Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea, and Ghana. I've gone for a 5 in the back formation here. Some are straightforward, some are debatable. I feel like Portugal and Uruguay's picks are debatable because you got so many options to choose from. But South Korea and Ghana maybe are a bit more clear. Let's get into it though, starting off with that attack. Although it shouldn't be, this is a very debatable pick because he hasn't been at his best form, but he is the top goal scorer for Portugal. I mean, he didn't have the most convincing Nations League break either, but still cannot ignore this man's brilliance, and we could see him pop off at the World Cup. Up top, I'm going to go for Cristiano Ronaldo. Perfect time to utilize some South Korean picks here. At the left wing position, I'm going for Heung-min Son. Joined Golden Boot winner last year, South Korea's best player. Do you know what though? I am going to move Heung-min Son. He might not excel the best at the right, but he still is known to be versatile in order to do so. And I want to be able to fit in some other players on this team. I have gone for Darwin Núñez. The reason why I had to shift that is because Darwin is known to play either at the left or at striker. He is not known to shift to the right, and Son is capable of doing it. Therefore, I have decided to swap them around. Sometimes it's shaky for Liverpool this season, yes, but he still has time to return his form. Now, a player that I could have put at right wing instead, but I'm going to put at center mid because he's versatile in that regard, is Valverde. This guy's on to something without a doubt and could be the difference for Uruguay here. I have more faith in him to be the difference over Darwin Núñez, to be honest. But we'll see. That was the perfect time to utilize a Ghana player. I've gone for Arsenal's man, Thomas Partey. More defensive, obviously, but I think he'd be able to work his way around this. And for that left wing back position, I've gone for Joao Cancelo. Definitely can fulfill this role. He's very versatile, can play on the left or the right. And I've decided to put him at the left for this. Very unlucky to miss the Euros last time around. Portugal should be comfortable utilizing a player of his caliber. And joining him also his Manchester City partner is Ruben Diaz. Not much to say there. I mean, if we want to strengthen our defense, these two are massive go-tos. Now for the next spot, I'm going to go for another Ghana player, Salisu, who has rejected to join the national team for so long, but it looks like he's finally accepted, and they can definitely strengthen their defense here. He's had some incredible Premier League displays. Another fantastic option in the back line has to be Kim Min-jae, who has recently signed for Napoli and has really been fantastic at the back. Honestly, I was not expecting him to be this good, so shout out to Napoli for such a fantastic transfer window. At the right wing back, I have gone for Lamptey, who has recently changed his nationality to represent Ghana. Will be exciting to see what he's made of. And in terms of this formation we're going for, I think he's the perfect fit. Now for that final spot, I've gone for Roche from Uruguay, who has seemed to replace Muslera. There were moments he caught me off guard and how brilliant he was in the World Cup qualifiers. So yeah guys, that is my starting 11 for Group H. Let me know which group is your favorite to potentially win if they had to come up against each other. Mine's probably got to be Group F or H. But yeah guys, thank you for making it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. Lock noite.